Our last two speakers are Tracey Jennings from PricewaterhouseCoopers, who will perform this death-defying feat of summarizing all that we have heard today and wrap it up in a nice, neat little package for us. And following Tracey, we'll have Kevin Shea, chair of OMDC's board of directors, who will bring us home. So let me just start with Tracey Jennings. Tracey is Canadian leader of PwC's Technology, InfoComm, and Entertainment and Media Practice, and also PwC's Entertainment and Media Sector Leader for Canada. Well, that must be some business card you've got, Tracey. Tracey works with clients in all of the sectors with a particular focus in the E&M sectors, including broadcasting, film production and distribution, digital media, including video games and newspapers. She has over 24 years of experience providing advice, including tax consulting, compliance, and international tax advice to E&M companies, from large multinationals to smaller emerging companies. In addition to providing our wrap-up today, we are also grateful for PwC's sponsorship of today's Digital Dialogue Conference. Thanks very much. Tracey, wherever you are. Here she comes, Tracey.
Thanks so much, Terry. And yeah, long name and no book titles behind my name, unlike our wonderful MC. So I have the dubious task of taking everything that you've learned today and trying to disseminate that in a few short words so you can get out of here. You know, this panel that just came up did a nice preface in terms of summarizing it. When we look at what's happening in the digital economy, and I was actually fascinated to hear the stories today, really impressive around companies really embracing digital technologies, looking at new business models and ways to monetize content. And we spent a lot of time talking about the consumer today. And when we look at the entertainment and media ecosystem, I kind of summarize that, or we do at PwC, in 3 words. Where's the consumer? What's the platform, distribution technologies? And what's your content? And when we look at embracing new technologies and the shift to digital and really capitalizing that in our business models, the originator of content has a lot of value, because the multiple distribution channels just give them a lot of opportunity. But if you don't know your consumer, then you're missing out on a key opportunity. So we spent a lot of time, and if you're in the middle, you do risk being disintermediated. It's very well proven that the technology without the content doesn't really go anywhere. So that companies in that space will struggle. When we look at the two landscapes, we spent a lot of time today on the consumer, and I absolutely loved Chuck's panel. I wonder, I'm sure every one of you was thinking, okay, am I a Gen X? Am I actually a tweener? And are those core values, for me? I think I'm actually a tweener, and except that I don't think I would be the woman changing the tire. Some things just don't change in terms of the ad model. I loved hearing about the silent generation, and a lot of that concept in terms of the impact and how you gear to the audience resonated with me, especially as my children bought both of their grandparents an iPad for Christmas, and I bought my grandmother an iPad for her 95th birthday. So we had a lot of fun kind of video texting with her. So we learned a lot about the Gen X and the millenniums and the challenges. I think anyone in business today that deals with the millennium knows some of the challenges they face in terms of business and really getting them to communicate together, especially those in, for example, professional services firms where relationships and one-on-one is really, really important. So it was really fantastic. So it was also great to hear the key bottom line, understanding your demographic, figuring out the core values of that demographic and targeting it for success. One of the key questions in that panel, which actually resonated through a number of the panels after that, I thought was absolutely fantastic, because we think about understanding the consumer and linking it on the marketing and sales side, but the question was around, how can they help us actually develop our product? And being in the content sphere, there's lots of great examples where companies in the new digital world have an opportunity to go viral, to engage in their millennials into helping to develop their products and enhancing it through a viral campaign. One example I'll use, because I'm very close to this at home every night, is Minecraft. Anybody familiar with Minecraft? Okay. Anybody who has any kids. So that's an example of a video game. They put it out in beta, I think almost 3 years ago. I could be wrong on the timeline. And it was free to play beta. What we saw, and my 13-year-old boy is totally addicted to Minecraft, as is my 7-year-old, but what we saw in the development of the game is significant enhancement of the features, development of 3D. It's a very non-violent game. It's one that actually has got a lot of learning around, building your own communities and, chopping down wood and what you do when you chop down the trees. But when they came to launch, we were so hooked that, yes, we have a number of multiple licenses. My son developed his own server. He's invited his friends to a server. They chat on Skype every night, and it's a really community around the game. So I know we heard a lot of examples like that today around thinking back from a broader perspective, engaging, the Gen X that want to be engaged in the development of your product. So I thought that was actually a fantastic question. We then talked a lot about the value. When we talk about consumers, there's a lot of value in terms of in the consumers today. And we talked a lot about the data analytics and understanding what it's worth to value the consumer. I thought that was actually a fantastic discussion, and microtransactions really resonates in terms of a way to really monetize it when you understand the data. My hint to that and on the zombie diner is don't give your 6-year-old your iPad or a password. You will pay for it at month end on your Visa. So when we look at monetization, advertising was a lot of discussions in terms of model. So that's what I want to back up. When you look and you really understand your consumer, then there's multiple ways that you can actually look at new revenue models through the distribution and enabling technologies and tablets that were not there before. So monetization of advertising is a key one, and we talked a lot about that today. Free to play, and the role of getting your viral campaign and engagement, and then converting that into a monetization event. So when we look at the issues, though, we have to be front and center around the consumers, really the privacy and security, and those are going to be key issues. We wouldn't be in the entertainment and media space or ICT in Canada without talking about challenges to access to capital. And we spent a fair bit of time talking about that and key challenges, and good summary relative to the VC market. I think what I took from that, and I thought there was a couple of key things for emerging companies, is the three most important things we need to focus on is the people. If you're trying to be an emerging company, having a management with proven track record, and we heard that in spades from Jean-Sebastian. Having your access to capital and funding, and third is your sound business model with the vision that goes along with it. And those are key success factors and great tidbits that we have as we're looking at developing our emerging companies in the entertainment and media space in Ontario. It is a challenge, though, when we're dealing with a hits business, and we heard that in spades. It's very difficult because you don't have sustainable cash or consistent cash flows to finance, get access to funding, or to get the level of investment. But with the onset of digital enabling technologies, you do have a way of actually looking to different sources of revenue models and monetizing in your content in a different way. So the key will be for companies is looking at really trying to develop sound management base as they go forward to capitalize on digital, and trying to really convert their hits-based business into a steady stream model so that they can really develop and grow their business. We had a good discussion around the role of government as well. We didn't really talk a lot about kind of the Jenkins report and the panel of productivity as one of the outputs from the digital economy papers that we have. But I wanted to highlight a couple of key things in terms of Canada. We do have a significant productivity gap in Canada. And the shift to digital is really just going to exemplify that issue. To highlight, if you look at a study that we were involved in that quantified the e-commerce market. So the estimate in 2013 for marketing digital products and services globally was estimated to be $4.4 trillion. The value of e-commerce, so that's B2B, B2C, was estimated at $16 trillion. So that's about 20.4 trillion. It's a fairly big number, but what it means is about 14% of all global sales are going through the digital economy. So from a Canadian perspective, we have a significant challenge on the productivity gap and the ownership of intellectual property and being able to compete in a global economy where their bricks and mortars don't have relevance is going to be a key issue for our governments. There's been a number of things in the Jenkins report, and I'm sure you can have a look at some of the reports that we produced on that, but that are really looking at ways of getting access to capital and funding, and we talked a little bit about that today. But there needs to be much more in terms of the ownership of IP, and we think that from a tax policy point of view, there's a real opportunity there. So there's going to be a lot of challenges overall from a Canadian, and the government has a significant role to play as we look at really trying to adapt and address those challenges. Piracy was another one that we talked about, a key role of the government. So when we look at the final thing I want to highlight is really our role. So the government has a role, but we also have a role. And I think Nick said it very, very well, is the best way to support Canadian technology is to play it. So what I wanted to leave you with is our role as a Canadian consumer to make sure we're supporting our Canadian content and allowing our Canadian companies to grow. And I loved the example that we had relative to RIM. RIM is one of the few companies, when you look at the ecosystem and growth of technology companies, most sell out to foreign-based companies, and then it's move your IP offshore and your jobs go offshore. RIM is a classic example where, I think that was your example. Very, very well said relative to the role of government, providing a bit more juice to the system, I'll call, giving a bit of access to capital to help investors to sway the risk, to help them make that investment, and really being Canadian. And it's important for us to really support our Canadian technology and entertainment and media companies. So with that, I hope you've all purchased your playbook and all bought your zombie subscriptions. So, I want to end by thanking you. This was an absolutely fantastic day. Well, I think we heard a lot relative to content. I know it's very challenged to do that on a cross-sectoral play, but I think that our focus on the consumer and the content has been great. So with that, thank you.